When a father wrongfully convicted of a crime he didn't commit is dragged away from the courtroom, he makes a final request to hold his daughter just one last time. But as they embrace, something changes. He feels it in her trembling body, sees the fear in her eyes, and then she whispers words that will haunt him forever. "Daddy, if you don't stop, they'll hurt me too." Ryan Callahan never thought it would come to this. A respected detective, a man who had spent years protecting others, now trapped in an unimaginable nightmare. Convicted for a crime he didn't commit, framed by powerful enemies, and with the walls of the courtroom closing in on him, Ryan's thoughts are not of his own freedom. They're of his 7-year-old daughter, Lily. Alone, terrified. As Ryan holds Lily in his arms, the love he feels for her is overshadowed by the growing sense of dread. Beneath the soft fabric of her dress, he sees bruises, evidence of a far more sinister plot than he ever realized. With the clock ticking and the world turning its back on him, Ryan has to make a choice. Fight for the justice that was stolen from him, or do everything in his power to save the daughter he swore to protect. This is a story of love, betrayal, and a father's unwavering determination. Stay tuned for the shocking truth behind his wrongful conviction and the dangerous path he must take to uncover the truth. Subscribe to Acts of Kindness Stories to follow Ryan's journey. The story is just getting started, and the fight for justice has only begun. The courtroom was thick with tension, and every eye was on Ryan Callahan. Once a respected detective with the Brighton Police Department, he now sat in an orange jumpsuit, shackled and surrounded by guards. His face was stoic, betraying nothing of the turmoil inside him. Yet, if you looked closely, you could see the tightness in his jaw and the hardness in his gaze, the storm that was raging within him. The words that came next hit him like a punch to the gut. The jury finds the defendant, Ryan Callahan, guilty of first-degree murder. For a moment, the world around him seemed to vanish. The courtroom buzzed with whispers, the chatter almost deafening, but all Ryan could hear was the ringing in his ears. He had known this moment would come. He had known this would be the result of a rigged trial, a case built on lies, manipulation, and deceit. His conviction wasn't based on truth. It was based on a carefully constructed narrative designed to destroy him. Ryan wasn't guilty of murder. He was innocent. The prosecution had built a flawless case, a case that tied him to the crime with irrefutable evidence. Ballistics matched the bullet found in the victim's skull to Ryan's service weapon. Surveillance footage had placed him near the scene of the crime. Even his fellow officers had testified against him, all in a story that painted Ryan as a cold-blooded killer. But Ryan knew the truth. He had been framed, set up by someone within the very institution he had once sworn to protect. The evidence was planted. The witnesses were coerced. The system that Ryan had fought so hard to uphold had turned against him. He had spent months in pre-trial detention, pleading for his innocence, but no one had listened. Every time he tried to dig deeper into the case, someone shut him down. His closest friend, Detective Jason Carter, had been suspended for questioning the evidence, warned to stay silent or face the same fate. And now, Ryan was being sentenced to life in maximum security prison. But his thoughts weren't on himself. They were on Lily, the daughter he had fought so hard to protect. His heart twisted as his eyes scanned the room, desperately searching for her. There she was, sitting in the back of the courtroom, her small hands clutching a tattered stuffed rabbit. Lily, his 7-year-old daughter, the only family he had left. She had already lost her mother in a hit-and-run accident 3 years ago. And now she was about to lose him too. The sight of her, her tear-streaked face, her trembling lip, shattered him in a way no verdict ever could. The judge's voice cut through the heavy silence, asking if Ryan had any final requests before being taken away. Ryan's breath hitched. He had only one request. "Please, just let me hug my daughter one last time." The murmurs in the courtroom were loud enough to break the moment's stillness. Even the judge, known for his harsh sentencing, paused. For a brief moment, humanity flickered in his eyes. 3 minutes, he said. As the bailiffs moved toward Lily, Ryan's hands trembled. They unlocked his cuffs, allowing him to hold her one last time. The moment she was in his arms, he felt her cling to him, her small hands gripping his jumpsuit with all her might. He kissed the top of her head, inhaling the familiar scent of her shampoo. He whispered, his voice breaking, "It's okay, baby. I love you so much. You're going to be okay." Lily shook her head fiercely. Her body trembled and her eyes filled with fear. "Daddy," she whispered, her voice barely audible, "if you don't stop, he'll hurt me too." Ryan's heart stopped. The words hit him like a freight train. His grip tightened around her for a fraction of a second before he quickly pulled back. His eyes scanned her face, then her arms and neck. And there, just beneath the sleeve of her dress, he saw it. Faint bruise. The world around him seemed to close in. His daughter, his precious Lily, was in danger. He had been wrongfully convicted, but this was something far more sinister. Ryan's mind raced. Who was threatening his daughter? Who had hurt her? But before he could ask, the bailiffs yanked him away, dragging him toward the exit. His heart pounded in his chest. He tried to resist, tried to fight to stay with Lily, but it was no use. The door slammed shut behind him, leaving him helpless and panicked. Lily's tear-filled eyes haunted him as they dragged him toward the prison van. There was nothing he could do. No one would listen. He had spent the past 48 hours trying to raise the alarm, trying to make someone understand that his daughter was in danger. But every time he tried, he was met with indifference. "You lost your right to be concerned about that little girl the second you put a bullet in Darius Kemp's head," the guards had told him. Ryan was nothing but a convicted murderer in their eyes, no matter how loudly he screamed his innocence. But this wasn't about him. It was about Lily. He had to find a way to protect her. Back in Brighton, Detective Jason Carter wasn't resting. The case that had destroyed his best friend's life had consumed him too. Jason had been suspended for questioning the evidence, but he had used that time to dig deeper, trying to uncover the truth behind Darius Kemp's murder. Ryan had been right. It wasn't just a frame job, it was a calculated execution. Someone inside the department wanted Kemp dead, and they needed Ryan to take the fall for it. But why? Jason tapped his pen against the desk, staring at a wall covered in case files. There was a glaring gap in the timeline, one that should have been filled by eyewitness testimony. But no one had come forward. He exhaled sharply and flipped through an old contact book. If the official witness list had nothing, he would need to look somewhere off the record. He found the name he was searching for. Vanessa Green, a bartender who had mysteriously disappeared shortly after Kemp's murder. Jason tracked her down to a rundown motel on the outskirts of town. When he knocked on her door, he could feel the tension in the air. Vanessa was clearly afraid. Her eyes were wide with fear as she opened the door just a crack, her body trembling. "Go away," she whispered. Jason pushed his foot against the door before she could close it. "I just need to talk. You and I both know Ryan Callahan didn't kill Darius Kemp." Vanessa flinched at the mention of Ryan's name. "I saw who went in before the shots were fired," she whispered. Jason's heart skipped a beat. "Who?" Vanessa hesitated before she spoke. "Two officers," she said, her voice barely audible. "I saw them go inside." Jason's blood ran cold. He didn't need to ask who they were. He knew. The officers who framed Ryan were the same ones who had killed Kemp. But Vanessa wasn't finished. She reached into a drawer and pulled out a burner phone. She scrolled through a few messages before showing them to Jason. The screen read, "If Callahan doesn't stop fighting his conviction, we'll make sure his little girl disappears." Jason's chest tightened. Lily was the new leverage. They weren't just silencing Ryan anymore. They were going after his daughter. "We have to move now," Jason said, his voice grim. Vanessa stepped back. "I can't," she said, fear evident in her eyes. Jason grabbed her shoulders. "Listen to me. This isn't just about you anymore. They've already got Ryan. Now they're coming for his daughter." Vanessa nodded, her face pale with terror. Jason pulled out his phone and dialed Lily's school. No answer. He tried again. Still nothing. His heart raced as panic set in. He had to find Lily. He jumped in his car and sped toward the school. But when he arrived, the parking lot was empty. The receptionist at the front office barely looked up when he asked about Lily. Her mother picked her up early, she said. Ryan's heart dropped. Lily didn't have a mother. Jason demanded answers, but the receptionist was dismissive. He grabbed the sign-out sheet and scanned the names. There was no signature, only a scrawled line where a name should have been. Someone inside the system had taken Lily. Back at the precinct, Jason's suspicions were confirmed. The disappearance of a detective's daughter should have triggered every alarm, but the department did the bare minimum. No Amber Alert was issued. No search was conducted. Jason knew that the system was corrupt, rotten to the core. And now they had Ryan's daughter. It was clear that this wasn't just about framing Ryan anymore. It was about silencing him permanently. As Jason and Vanessa made their plans to expose the truth, Ryan remained locked in his cell, struggling against the walls of his imprisonment. But in his heart, he knew one thing for sure. He wasn't going to give up. No matter what it took, he was going to find Lily. And he was going to make sure the people who had done this to him would never get away with it. As the story unfolded, Ryan Callahan's world began to crumble, but his determination never wavered. Escaping from the grip of corruption, Ryan and his trusted allies, Jason and Vanessa, were now more than just fighting for justice. They were fighting for the truth. With each piece of evidence they uncovered, with every step they took to expose the rot within the Brighton PD, they knew the stakes were higher than ever. Their mission wasn't just about clearing Ryan's name. It was about protecting his daughter, Lily, and making sure the evil that had been lurking in the shadows was finally brought to light. The arrest of Greg Wallace and Victor Langley was just the beginning. As the FBI closed in on the corrupt officers and exposed the full extent of the conspiracy, the city of Brighton was forced to confront the consequences of its own darkness. What had once been a case of betrayal, manipulation, and cruelty was now a beacon of hope, a symbol of what can happen when people refuse to back down in the face of injustice. But even as the dust settled, Ryan couldn't shake the reality of the system that had almost taken everything from him. Despite the exoneration, despite the victories, the fight wasn't truly over. The corruption that plagued Brighton went deeper than anyone had realized, and as Ryan stood there with his daughter, now safe in his arms, he knew that this battle had only been one chapter of a much bigger story. The power of one person's fight for what is right can have ripple effects beyond measure. Ryan's journey wasn't just about clearing his name. It was about inspiring others to speak out, to seek truth, and to never accept a world where justice is so easily manipulated. As Ryan and Lily found peace by the shore, the message was clear. No matter how dark the path, no matter how impossible the odds, never stop fighting for what's right. Ryan had lost everything, only to get it all back, and in doing so, he not only reclaimed his freedom but also gave his daughter the future she deserved. This story proves that courage can rise even from the darkest corners, and hope is always possible, even in the face of overwhelming odds. If you found inspiration in Ryan's journey, if you believe in the power of justice and the strength of a parent's love, we urge you to hit like, share this video with others, and comment below on what part of this story moved you the most. Your support helps us continue to bring powerful, real stories to light. Don't forget to subscribe to Acts of Kindness Stories. Our goal is to reach 10,000 subscribers, and with your help, we can make that happen. Join us in spreading the word. Together we can keep sharing stories that inspire and change lives. Thank you for watching, and remember, never stop believing in justice and always stand up for what's right.